Hi, Ash here. Today we're going to be talking about how to teach your athletes a cat pass in a parkour session in your gymnastics club. A cat pass is very similar to a squat through vault that gymnasts will traditionally do over a vault in their competitions, and sometimes is referred to as a Kong by people that do parkour in the parkour community. So one of the main differences between a cat pass and a squat through in gymnastics is the takeoff before the vault. So one of the main things to look at is that when the gymnast takes off for a squat through, they're going to have their feet together and they're going to be leaning backwards so their feet are in front of them. When they jump on the springboard and they're leaning back like this, it's going to throw them up in the air so they get lots of height, ready and able to do somersaults in their landings after their vault. So typically gymnasts want to be going up in the air after their vaults, they've got lots of time to somersault and land. Whereas when somebody's doing parkour, if you just step to the side, Mark, they're going to put one foot in front of the other, their arms are going to be back ready to start their vault. And the reason why they're going to take off with one foot in front of the other is so that the energy in their vault carries on moving forwards, as most of the time they're going to be landing, doing a precision or doing an arm jump after their cat pass. So there's two differences we need to look at. Parkour is going to have one foot in front of the other to carry the movement forwards. Gymnastics is going to have 2 feet on the springboard so we can go upwards, somersault, gets lots of height, ready for landing after the vault. So we're going to start looking at the split step takeoff for a cat pass now. So Marcus is going to demonstrate for us what this should look like. He's going to stand with his arms down and his legs together. What we're going to ask him to do is step forwards onto the mat in front of him. So we've got 2 carpet squares to show where his legs should be. His arms need to be behind his body, ready to swing into the block, and his leg at the back needs to be straight because we're going to ask that to start lifting up in a little while when we start to do the cat pass. So the next stage, once the gymnast has learned how to do their lunge, is bringing in a block or an object in front of them and getting them to understand what they need to do with their arms and their legs before their vault. So Mark's going to step forwards into his lunge shape and pause. We're going to hold him there for 3 seconds. From there, he's going to swing his arms forwards and put his hands on the block and lift his back leg up behind him and just pause in that position next. 1, 2, 3, and rest. Nice. By doing this, you introduce the lunge with one step in front of the other, arms behind him ready to swing into the vault, and then you help the gymnast understand how to lift their leg up behind them, which is especially important in later stages when they start to do double kongs and more advanced skills. Now we're going to move on to getting the gymnast to understand how to get their legs together when they're doing their cat pass over the top of the block. So Mark is going to stand into his lunge shape. He's going to pause for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. He's going to put his hands on the block with his leg up behind him. 1, 2, 3. He's going to jump and join his feet together and land down on the floor in front of him. So what we're doing here is preparing the gymnast to understand the split step, lifting their leg up behind them, and then joining their feet together, ready to start vaulting over the top of the block. We're going to start developing the cat pass now up on top of the block. But each time we do this, we're always going to slow them down, count to 3 seconds to perfect the technique and make sure they can do it correctly. So we're going to start with the lunge again, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, hands on, leg up. 1, 2, 3. He's going to jump his foot up onto the block and stand up on top of the block now, learning how to lift his chest and press down on the block. So Mark's just going to show us that one more time without me counting 3 seconds. We'll do it a little bit faster. If the gymnast has got to this stage and they can stand up on the blocks nicely, it'll then be ready to start taking them on to the next part of the vault. So we're going to teach the athlete now how to do a vault over the top of the block. Now, the couple of things that they're going to be scared of to start off with is probably clipping their feet and clipping their knees. So what we've done is created a setup here where there's a gap in the middle, which gives them a little bit more confidence, and we can gradually build this up over time to increase their confidence to go over the block without having a gap in the middle at all. So we're going to set this up very similar to all the preps that we've done at the start to encourage them to think about good form, good technique, and doing the vault correctly. So Mark's going to stand on his carpet squares, put one foot in front of the other. He's got his arms behind him. He's going to jump and lunge forwards, put his hands on the blocks, and then he's going to do his cat pass through the middle and land with his feet together on the carpet square the other side. Here we go. So one thing to recognize is that when Mark puts his hands on the blocks here, he's going to be thinking about pulling the blocks behind him. So with his fingers, he's going to think about sliding and pulling the blocks backwards, which is going to help him move forwards over the top of the obstacle. Excellent. So once the gymnast can do this, we can then move them on to start progressing and building these blocks up in the middle so that we can practice going over the top of a higher block. So now we've broken the cat pass down into the two stages, coming onto the block, coming off the block. The gymnast isn't scared of clipping their feet and understands how to get their legs through their hands. We're now going to add an extra carpet square, which is going to give them a little bit more speed and power, and then they're going to be able to try it on their own, come over the other side and land onto a safe mat. So Mark's going to stand with one foot in front of the other to start off with. Now this is going to prepare him to go into his lunge, and he's going to be able to get a little bit more power and complete the vault over onto the mat. So off you go, Mark. Good. As you can see, he lunges forwards, moves his chest forwards into the vault, pulls the vault back with his hands, and then lands safely with his feet together on the mat the other side. So now we've taught the gymnast how to go from their lunge, do their squat through over the vault and land on the other side. It's time to start teaching them how to complete it, land on one leg then the other, so they can continue running out of the movement and go into other moves. So the easiest way to do this is to start back where we were at the beginning and start teaching them how to do this up onto a higher surface. So Mark's going to step into his lunge with one foot in front of the other. His hands are going to go on the block and his leg's going to lift up behind him. Now from there you can see that this leg is up in the air, and normally this would jump together and land together on the block. But what we're going to ask him to do this time is jump his leg and land on this right leg that's up in the air, and then walk forwards on the block. Very nice. So we'll do that one more time for you, and we'll do it a little bit quicker. So he's going to stand with his feet together and do it all in one go. So as you can see, steps up, swaps his leg, and he's able to continue moving throughout the movement. So once we've broken down for the gymnast how to go up onto the block and swap their legs, so to get them to understand how to walk out of their cat pass at the end, and this time we're going to add an extra carpet square in so they can start to go into it with a little bit more speed and understand what the movement's going to feel like when they do the whole thing together. Nice. So as you can see, Mark swings his arms from below, gets into that lunge, puts his hands on, pulls the block backwards, and then is able to stand up on the leg that lifts up behind him, ready to walk out of it when we get on the other side. So now we're going to get the gymnast to do their cat pass over the top of the block, and then they're going to step out onto one foot and then the other and continue their run on after their cat pass. So we're going to get them to stand in that lunge shape that we had them in to start off with one foot in front of the other on the mats, getting ready to go over the block and then land on the other side. So Mark's going to demonstrate this for us now. Awesome. So you can see Mark had one foot in front of the other, arms back, swung them forwards into the block, pulled the block backwards with his hands, stepped out onto one foot and the other, so then he was ready to go into a different move. So what we're going to do now is remove these carpet squares out of the way and ask them to have a go practicing how to do their cat pass from a run. Nice. And the better the gymnast gets at this, the faster they'll be able to go into it and complete it over to the other side. So a few things to remember when teaching a cat pass is that at the start, they need to make sure they get into that nice lunge with their arms back, bringing their chest down and swinging their arms into the vault. They need to then put their hands down and pull the block back behind them so it helps them move forwards. Then when they step out and land, they're going to step out onto the opposite leg that they took off on. So if they take off on the left leg, they're going to do their vault and then step out onto their right leg and continue their movement on into the next skill.